This is Northern Light for Tuesday, August 25th. Good morning. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Food insecurity is rising in the North Country. Since last summer, it's climbed by 14% in some counties and nearly 20% for children.
Full grocery cart's unaffordable for most people and for most families. So that's something that people are making tough decisions about.
Also on the show, a new state law restricts local police from making formal agreements with ICE, but some officials are resisting.
We don't feel like we're doing anything wrong here. I just want an answer. Tell me why. And if they think I'm going to blindly just say, well, the law is the law, they're talking to the wrong guy.
And our summer daylight is shrinking by the day. Astronomer Aileen O'Donoghue is in the studio to guide us through our expanding darkness.
All of that's coming up on Northern Light. Stick with us. Support for Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio comes from Keys Financial Services, now partnered with BK Capital LLC, offering investments, financial planning, and insurance for over 35 years. Offices in Lake Placid and Durham, Connecticut. Keys-financial.com. And from McFadden Deere Insurance in Canton, Potsdam, and Gouverneur, encouraging North Country residents to support local nonprofit organizations that provide services to those in need. McFaddenDeere.com. This is Northern Light. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Food insecurity is rising in the North Country. According to new data gathered by the Regional Food Bank based in Albany, it's climbed by 14% since last year. The increased cost of groceries, gas, housing, and utilities, as well as cuts to federal programs like SNAP, is cascading into families' budgets. Thousands of people in the North Country, including nearly 20% of children, struggle to find their next meal. Our St. Lawrence Valley reporter, Richard Haller, spoke with the Regional Food Bank CEO, Tom Narducci, about the new data.
I think what's happening now is economics is a challenge. People are working hard, and they're sometimes working two jobs, and wages just aren't going that far. And I think that's number one, is that people just aren't making a living wage. I think inflation has had a big impact on that. The cost of everything is higher, and wages haven't kept up with that. I also think the cost of things, I always say, like, rent eats first, right? People have to pay their rent. They need a roof over their head. Rent is as high as we've ever heard of in our lifetime. So people just can't get ahead because of the cost of housing. Also the cost of food. You could fill your grocery cart up. A full grocery cart's unaffordable for most people and for most families. So that's something that people are making tough decisions about. Could I buy these vegetables, or do I have to buy my medicine this week? And I think that's what we're seeing. So I think that's number one. And then I think the backdrop for agencies like ours are cuts at the federal level. Last year, essentially about 7 million pounds of food from the USDA program was cut from our food bank. Well, that food, we still have to come up with an answer for that food. So we've worked really hard to try to make that up. And, by, rescuing more food, working with retail partners, getting more donations. And we just haven't made up the amount that we lost from the federal level. But so that means we have to purchase more food, and then our pantry partners have to purchase more food. So the cost for social services agencies have gone up as well. So just all of it has made it very, very difficult right now.
The North Country counties, including Clinton and Franklin and Essex, are the highest in your service area of food insecurity. Do you have any idea of what's specifically driving it to be higher here in the North Country?
Compared to some other areas, including urban areas, I think there's a lack of services. I think that there are places that have no grocery stores, for example. Family that has one car that would have to travel many miles to get to a store. I think there's some areas there's lack of social service agencies.
Yeah, I mean, some of the numbers are pretty striking to me. Like in the North Country and Adirondack region, it says nearly 38,000 people, which is 13% of the population, and that includes 9,000 kids are struggling with food insecurity. Yep. Can you just explain what does that mean for kids that are going for food insecurity and just people in general? Like, what does that mean for them in their lives?
Those are the real numbers. So you have over 9,000 children in the region are food insecure. 9,260 kids we've identified that aren't sure if they're going to have breakfast, lunch, or dinner. That's as real as it gets. And that's something that, we're all trying to figure out, okay, how do we best equip children to live healthy lives?
And with that, what additional steps has the regional food bank and the food pantries that you guys are supplying? Like, what additional steps are you making and what are you doing to meet this growing demand?
I think that there's some things that have happened that are positive in New York State. New York State, approving universal school meals is a big step. But here we are in the summer time. What are we doing for kids right now that aren't in school? So some of the things that we're doing at the food bank is we've started to do some direct shipping of food to children who are identified as food insecure. So that's new for us. But that's only hundreds of kids, about 600 kids right now we're supplying that to. We're trying to scale that up so that we can get food directly shipped to their house. We're working with schools to create pantries inside of schools. So we're doing a lot of things. It's just, how do you scale that? How do we get to all 9,260 kids? That's kind of what I obsess over. It's like, okay, there's 100 here, 100 here. And then as you look around the service area, we have these maps with data, it has numbers that are real numbers. It's X amount of people in this area. So we're obsessively trying to figure out, okay, how do we get to all the kids in that area? And that's really the challenge. And that's why the work is kind of never ending, because we're constantly trying to get to everyone if we can.
That was Regional Food Bank CEO Tom Nardici speaking with Richard Haller.
More details have emerged surrounding the suspensions of 5 state police troopers in Troop B. The Albany Times-Union reports they're tied to the handling of a one-car crash in Clinton County last October that involved an off-duty trooper's son. Sources told the paper that Clinton County Sheriff's deputies were initially handling the call when the off-duty trooper contacted a younger trooper and asked her to go to the scene. It's unclear what happened, but ultimately state police took over the investigation, and a trooper allegedly determined there was not probable cause to charge the off-duty trooper's son with driving while intoxicated.
The Times-Union reports that the deputy who initially responded to the crash filed a complaint that prompted an internal state police investigation. The probe includes examining body cam footage from troopers who were at the scene or involved in the aftermath. One source said at least 3 of the troopers have been offered deals that would extend their suspensions but allow them to keep their jobs. The off-duty trooper reportedly had an upcoming promotion to investigator rescinded. State police officials have declined to comment on the investigation. Troop B covers Clinton, Essex, Franklin, St. Lawrence, and northern Hamilton counties. This is NCPR.
You're listening to Northern Light, only here on North Country Public Radio. It's 10 after 8. Good morning. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Stick around. Astronomer Aileen O'Donoghue is here with a guide of what to look for among the stars.
That conversation coming up in just a few minutes here on Northern Light, which is supported by Adirondack Harvest, providing residents and visitors with a directory of local farmers markets to access locally sourced foods. Market details at adirondackharvest.com/markets. Support also comes from you. I want to say a big thank you for your support this summer. NCPR can stand strong because of friends like you. It's direct support from you that helps the NCPR news team share stories from across our region. Every story is possible because of your support. Thank you so much for your donation to NCPR this summer. We've been hearing music from Ben Sharon out of Watertown.
A new state law requires police agencies around New York to end their formal cooperation agreements with federal immigration authorities by today. As Jimmy Vielkind for the New York Public News Network reports, some officials plan to resist the law and argue that cooperation increases public safety.
Hundreds of people are booked into the Rensselaer County Jail each year. The cement block facility is about 8 miles up the Hudson River from Albany. And as booking officer Jimmy Kelly explains, everyone goes through the same procedure.
They come in through these doors over here, this Sally port. At this time, he's got restraints on. I'll take the restraints off, typically handcuffs, shackles, take possession of all his property.
One of those checks is with ICE. Under Sheriff Michael DiNardo explains that since the county has a formal cooperation agreement called 287G, it gets data instantly that might otherwise take days.
We don't want someone coming here paying $1 to get bail, and then we didn't get information back in the right amount of time, and we release them to the street.
So you're saying this ICE database that you're checking under the 287G agreement, how important is that?
It's huge. We don't want to release somebody out in that street that shouldn't be out there.
On this way.
I'm touring the jail with DiNardo and Rensselaer County Executive Steve McLaughlin, a Republican who's the top elected official here. He says he won't comply with the new law and has been unsuccessfully trying to call Governor Hochul.
We don't feel like we're doing anything wrong here. I just want an answer. Tell me why. And if they think I'm going to blindly just say, well, the law is the law, they're talking to the wrong guy.
No one is above the law.
That's Hochul during a recent press conference. The Democratic governor has been clear that the state will enforce the new statute after the Tuesday deadline.
They will face legal action. Because in New York, I want our police focused on one thing, keeping people safe, not doing ICE's job.
11 of the 13 jurisdictions that cooperate with ICE are winding down their formal agreements. The outliers are McLaughlin and Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman, the Republican running against Hochul in November. Blakeman's county has the most extensive cooperation agreement with ICE. County police officers go on raids with ICE agents, and the federal agency uses the county jail. Both will be prohibited under the new state law, and Blakeman has been tight-lipped about his plans. But he got big applause at a recent rally with President Trump when he said cooperating with ICE has taken guns and drugs off the streets.
Kathy Hochul, where do you want those guns? What neighborhood do you want to destroy? Where do you want those drugs? What community do you want to destroy? Where do you want those?
ICE data shows that most immigrants who are detained haven't committed crimes. Immigrant advocates say people with ongoing asylum cases are being arrested during traffic stops and at scheduled check-ins. According to the Rensselaer County Sheriff, 9 people have been turned over to ICE from the county jail since McLaughlin started the partnership in 2018. On Long Island, the newspaper Newsday reported that in the year after Trump took office in 2025, 147 immigrants detained at the Nassau County Jail had prior convictions for violent crimes. That's less than 5% of the immigrants who were arrested.
I completely disagree with this narrative.
That's State Senator Julia Salazar, a Democrat from Brooklyn. She pushed for the new state law and said ICE is detaining and deporting undocumented immigrants who don't have criminal histories.
It really is not acceptable for New York to be complicit in ICE tearing apart our communities, families from each other, parents from children.
Salazar says the new law taking effect this week will make New York safer for immigrants and everyone else. In South Troy, I'm Jimmy Vielkind for the New York Public News Network.
Developers have broken ground on a project to transform a long-vacant factory in Tupper Lake. A team of investors from Syracuse is redeveloping the village's historic oval wood dish factory into housing. Construction crews plan to build over 80 apartments on the property. The new development will also include commercial space, storage, and a co-working area. The original oval wood dish factory began manufacturing wooden products in Tupper Lake in 1918. The building has sat empty for almost 2 decades. New York Secretary of State Walter Mosley says the new apartments will provide a much-needed boost to Tupper Lake's affordable housing supply. He says that'll help the village retain more long-term residents.
We understand that Tupper Lake is more than just a seasonal place. It's a place where New Yorkers live all year round. They raise their families here all year round. And it's up to us as the state stewards to provide the resources to support them all year round.
The project is being funded in part through New York State's Downtown Revitalization Initiative. It's one of several DRI projects currently underway in Tupper Lake.
SUNY graduate student workers will no longer have to pay mandatory fees to attend school. Governor Kathy Hochul says it will make pursuing master's and doctoral degrees more affordable. SUNY has been phasing out the fees for over the past 4 years. They typically cost students $2,000 each year. The change affects more than 7,500 graduate student workers across the SUNY system.
And 2 filmmakers are seeking experts to weigh in on footage of what they claim to be the Lake Champlain monster. In June, Richard Rossi and Kelly Tabor released drone footage that went viral. It shows what looks like a large sea creature following a rowboat in Lake Champlain's Bulwaga Bay. The duo was shooting footage for their children's movie, Lucy and the Lake Monster. Rossi and Tabor told the Adirondack Daily Enterprise that they strongly believe this is Champ, often claimed to be a serpent-like monster that lurks in Lake Champlain. The filmmakers opened an application process that lets relevant experts like marine biologists, oceanographers, and zoologists join a scientific review panel to try and make sense of the footage. Credentials are being accepted until September 14th. This is NCPR. You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. It is 8:19. Good morning. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Stick around after the show for Bird Note. That's coming up at 8:42. With our eyes to the skies, sunset in Lake George is at 7:42 this evening, and the moon is a waxing crescent at 94% of full.
Don't forget to grab an umbrella before you head out the door this morning. There's a chance of isolated to scattered showers throughout the day today. Mostly cloudy, too, with high temperatures just reaching into the low to mid-70s, so a touch warmer than yesterday. Rain should be clearing out overnight tonight. Light winds, too, out of the south, then transitioning to the northwest, just 10 miles per hour or so. At last check, it was 61 degrees in Messina and in Malone, 59 degrees in Tupper Lake, 63 degrees in Ticonderoga and in Copenhagen in the beautiful Tug Hill Plateau, and 63 degrees, too, on Wellesley Island.
Planets in the morning, a near total lunar eclipse, and the threat of later sunrises. Our guide through the sky, Aileen O'Donoghue, joins us this morning. She's an astronomer with St. Lawrence University and the Adirondack Sky Center and Observatory in Tupper Lake. Eileen, good morning.
Well, good morning, Catherine. How you doing?
Doing all right.
And there's no threat of later sunrises. It's a reality.
Well, I'm not there on the acceptance front, but how quickly are we gaining that glorious dark?
Oh, we, starting on September 4th, we'll be gaining 3 minutes a day of dark. And some of us will finally be able to get some rest. The Earth is in its orbit. The northern hemisphere is turning away from the sun to give glorious summer to the southern hemisphere. I'm sure the Aussies are looking forward to it and the South Africans. And so we are, of course, getting a little darker. And usually we're looking forward to changing the clocks in early November. The Sunday morning after Halloween is our traditional one. But, of course, there is part of our executive branch that wants to get rid of going back to standard time and stay on daylight time in what they call the Sunshine Protection Act, which the name says to me that they think that it gets darker because we change the clocks. But all we do is shift the dark. And there are some senators who are resisting this. And amazingly enough, some of the senators remember 1974 when we tried this experiment and found out it was awful.
Wow. Yes. Well, to catch everybody, the Sunshine Protection Act, the House has passed it, but the Senate's on recess right now until next month, and it's not clear if they're going to take it up yet. But under the act, it says that states that don't exempt themselves would observe daylight savings year-round. And I know we talked about that last month, but what would that mean for sunrises and sunsets in the North Country?
What it would mean for us is that sunrise in the winter wouldn't be until 8:30. And so that's sunrise. That's not daytime. And so when we tried this in 1974, even the southern states hated how dark it was in the mornings in December. So, the truth of it is that the length of the day shifts, the number of hours of daylight shifts by over 6 hours for us up here. And it's like, where do you want the dark? Do you want it in the morning? Do you want it in the evening? And that's the big debate there. And, there's really no good option. I mean, either you have in the summer sunrise at 4:15 and sunset at 8:15, or that's if you stay on standard time. And then if you stay on daylight time in the winter, you have, sunrise at 8:30. And if you change the clocks, then everybody freaks out about changing the clocks. So it's the length of the day changes because of the tilt of the Earth, the tilt of its axis relative to its orbit. And there is no changing that. And I wouldn't recommend we even try because that would change the seasons and create all kinds of a mess. And so this is something we have to live with on planet Earth.
Well, we'll have to see where it lands.
Yes, well, it's always interesting. But in the meantime...
Well, something that isn't changing is that there's a near total lunar eclipse coming our way this Friday. And why does the moon look red during a lunar eclipse?
It's really, I hate the blood moon. Oh, no, it's just, let's call it sunset moon. It turns red because from the moon, if you're standing on the moon, you see sunset all the way around the Earth. All right, the Earth is ringed in red light. And just like we get red at sunset. And so that's what turns it red, is that the Earth's atmosphere, the sunlight is coming through the atmosphere just like at sunset. And it gets refracted by the atmosphere. And the blue doesn't get bent as far as the red. So the red comes to the moon, whereas the blue goes past the moon. And so it's like at sunset, the earliest colors are blues and, So that's what it is. And that's what turns the moon red. And the moon will be 96.3% covered by the Earth's shadow. And, the Greeks watched these lunar eclipses and said, Earth seems to be round. And they measured the radius to a pretty close, like a few percent of what we know it to be today. So the moon will start moving into the darkest part of Earth's shadow, the umbra, where the entire sun is covered by the Earth, at 10:33, and the maximum of the eclipse will be at 12:13 a.m. So that's when the moon will mostly be covered. There'll be a sliver of the moon that is still in the penumbra, that is still seeing the sun. So that's why it's a near total.
So when we step out of our homes Friday night at 10:30, and we look up at the moon, what will it look like?
You'll start seeing a little darker part. Part of it will be darker. There will be this circle, semicircle of darkness that starts moving across the moon because it's moving into a round shadow. And so you'll see that round shadow cross the moon, but it's not going directly into the shadow. It's kind of skimming the top of it. If you Google lunar eclipse, August 2026, NASA, they have lovely illustrations of this, is where the moon is in the Earth's shadow, because Earth's shadow is much bigger than the moon. Unlike the moon's shadow on Earth is this tiny little puddle of dark that we got to experience so gloriously in 2024. But on the moon, all of the moon experiences the eclipse except for that one limb that will be outside the shadow of Earth. So that should be fun to go out and look at that. And, there's binoculars are the best way to look at the moon. A telescope, if you really have time, it's nice to look through a telescope, but an eclipse through a telescope is not that exciting. Binoculars are best. So, and your eyeballs.
And while we're out there, what else can we see in the evening skies?
Well, Venus is in Virgo. So the way to find Virgo is you find the Big Dipper and the Arc of the Handle. You follow the arc to Arcturus, which is one of the brightest stars of the northern sky. And then, continuing kind of in the same direction, you make a spike to Spica. Spica, S-P-I-C-A, is the brightest star in Virgo. And it's going to be very close to Venus. And so it's going to be 6 degrees, so about half the width of your fist at arm's length to the left and up from Venus is going to be Spica. And so that's Arcturus and Spica. Boötes is the constellation that Arcturus is in, and Spica is in Virgo. And so that's going to be lovely. But then, so we have Virgo, and then Libra, and then Scorpius and Sagittarius. And Scorpius and Sagittarius are just plunk on top of the Milky Way. Well, between us and the center of the Milky Way, where 27,000 light years away, there's a black hole that's 4 million times the size of the sun. And so we can look there, and the Milky Way this time of year is glorious. Get out your chaise lounge and your binoculars. From the south in the early evening, like 9 o'clock, in the south, you see Sagittarius and Scorpius in the center of the Milky Way. It's just dazzling with star clusters and nebulae. And then it arcs up over through the zenith and the summer triangle of Deneb, Vega, and Altair. Deneb is the tail of Cygnus the Swan, who is winging her way southward along the Milky Way, as all good swans should be doing in this time of the year. And then it arcs over through Cassiopeia and Perseus. It's just this glittery stretch across the sky. And it's our home galaxy, the Milky Way. It's got, somewhere around 500 billion stars. It's just awesome. And it's just so glittery and beautiful. This is a nice time of year. Cover yourself with bug dope, but do go out and just binoculars and your eyeballs. It's glorious. And see if you can flip the Earth over. We always see ourselves on top of the Earth looking up at the sky. Well, down there in the Indian Ocean. They're hanging from the bottom, looking down at the sky. So let's see if we can do that in your mind. Flip the Earth over, hang from the bottom, and look down at the sky.
Mm-hmm.
When you're there and don't do that standing up. I fall over.
Right. Well, and the Milky Way really is such a treasure that we have up here, to be able to see it so clearly. When my brother-in-law and sister came to visit a couple years ago from the D.C. area, my brother-in-law stepped out and looked at the sky, and he said, I haven't seen the Milky Way in probably 20 years.
Yeah.
Which we get to see, so frequently up here.
Yeah.
It's such a special thing.
Yeah, because we have enough darkness to be able to see it, and it is a joy. My students come from all over the U.S. and the world, and they haven't seen the Milky Way. And so it's quite exciting for them that, and it's a glorious time of year. And in the morning.
Yes, for us early risers, what can we see in the morning skies?
Saturn high in the southwest. It's 40 degrees above the horizon before sunrise. It's still in Pisces. Pisces is full of dim stars. So Saturn is the brightest thing out there. And then Jupiter is on the other side above the east-northeast, and it's creeping up in the morning sky. It's only about 10 degrees above the horizon by 5:30. It's in Cancer. It's the brightest thing in the area. And then Orion is fully up by 5:30 a.m., and Mars is in Gemini, a little bit left of the top of Orion's club. It's not as bright as the stars in Orion, but it's reddish, and so it's a lovely thing. Look at Orion, find Orion's club above his head, and then look a little to the left for Mars in Gemini. And they're moving all the time. You got to keep track of the planets.
Yeah, right.
They run away.
Well, that's why we count on you, Aileen.
Well, that's my job, to keep track of the planets. God knows where they want to go.
Aileen O'Donoghue is an astronomer with the Adirondack Sky Center and Observatory in Tupper Lake and with St. Lawrence University in Canton. She joins us every month here on Northern Light to guide us through what to look for in the morning and evening skies. Aileen, thanks so much.
It's always fun.
That's it for the show. Stick around for more news from NPR coming up next.
Then after that, it'll be time for the Marketplace Morning Report. We can get caught up on all the day's business news and all the morning's business news, and hear about a reignited trade war. Trade tensions between the U.S. and Canada continue to escalate, especially impacts local businesses and tourism here in the North Country. You'll want to tune in. That's from 8:51 to 9 o'clock here on NCPR. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Be well.